you say anymore. This isn't my life. Go ahead with your own life. Leave me alone.
The 1978 hit My Life is a summer song from Billy Joel, who's been entertaining us for more than 40 summers now. Turns out that for Billy Joel, getting to his gig on a world-famous stage is half the fun, as he demonstrates for Anthony Mason.
It used to be a tennis court.
On the back lawn of his estate on Oyster Bay, Long Island, Billy Joel saw a chance to solve a transportation problem.
Because I didn't play tennis. And there was an H in the middle of the tennis court. And I said, helipad.
That's how he arrived in Manhattan this past Wednesday with his wife Alexis for his landmark 100th concert at Madison Square Garden.
It's 9 o'clock on a Saturday.
He sold out every show, more than 2 million tickets.
It's okay with me these days. Got a good job, I got a good office, I got a new wife, I got a new life, and the family is fine.
What does it say to you personally that you're playing your 100th show here?
It's a crazy life. I remember the first night I played here in 1978. This was like the pinnacle of my career.
Yeah.
God, I'm headlining at Madison Square Garden.
40 years ago, in December of 1978, Joel played his first gigs at the Garden.
Anthony works in the grocery store.
He'd broken out the year before with his 5th album, The Stranger.
For a kid from Long Island, what did it mean to be here in 1978?
Well, this is the Ark of the Covenant. This is the High Holy of Holies.
Mr. Joel's concert, the New York Times Review read, reaffirmed his stature as a craftsmanlike pop composer. But he falls short of the committed passion of great rock.
Off and on over the years, you've been beaten up by some critics.
A lot of that beating up was self-induced because I went to war with these guys. If I didn't agree with something they wrote, I would call them out on stage. That doesn't help things.
Why did you go to war with them?
Because they were wrong.
I am the entertainer, and I know just where I stand. Another serenader.
His Garden gigs have proven him right.
Today I am the champion. I may have won your hearts.
Even some of his songs that weren't big hits in the beginning have become standards.
Piano Man, we do every night. You can't do a show without doing Piano Man, but the audience is singing along.
They're doing a lot of the work.
Yeah, so when I'm doing the song, I'm not actually thinking about what I'm doing. I'm listening to the audience singing, you know, going, ah, not bad, you know?
Joel began playing the Garden monthly in January of 2014.
When you started it, you never thought it was going to last this long, did you?
No, they presented it to me like, okay, you're gonna do a residency, but what they really meant, you're gonna be a franchise, like a sports team.
How did you feel about that?
I was flattered, I'm flabbergasted.
He's sold out 54 straight shows, joined almost every month by special guests: Sting, Paul Simon and Miley Cyrus, Tony Bennett,
We're in a New York state of mind.
and for his 100th show, Bruce.
Of the shows you played at the Garden, are there any particularly memorable moments for you? I mean, particularly in this residency.
I remember the nights that my daughter Della was there, you know, knowing that she was dancing around. This past year or so, there was the night I wore the Star of David after the Charlottesville incident.
You don't usually get political in shows.
No, I don't think it's right for me to get up on a soapbox because that's not why people are there.
But you had to do something that night.
I had to do something that night. The president said there's some good people on, you know, that did that. No, Nazis aren't good people. It really enraged me, actually. My old man, his family got wiped out. They were slaughtered in Auschwitz. Him and his parents were able to get out. But then he was in the US Army during the war and fought with Patton and was shot out by Nazis. But My family suffered, and I think I actually have a right to do that.
At 69, Joel is playing songs he wrote seemingly a lifetime ago.
Seeing the lights go out on Broadway.
Do they sound different to you now?
Some of them age better than others.
Yeah.
They're like my kids.
Yeah.
Some of them grew up to be doctors and lawyers and Indian chiefs. Some of them a couple of bums, you know?
His first huge hit, the Grammy-winning Just the Way You Are, is not one of the singer's favorites.
It was a song I wrote for my first ex-wife, and it was a gift. And when I showed it to her, she said, "Does that mean I get the publishing too?" And it kind of took the shine off the thing.
Joel was also annoyed when the sheet music was first published.
The first publishing that they did of it was the wrong chords. I'll show you. Can I move with this thing? Okay. The original chords are like this. That's a suspension. And these guys play it like this. Drives me frickin' nuts. It's stupid. So I gotta go over and I gotta correct the guy. When I went to the restaurant, no.
Come out, Virginia, don't let me wait.
He wrote 33 top 40 hits. Then, after his River of Dreams album in 1993, Joel suddenly stopped.
What was the main reason you stopped writing songs?
I couldn't be as good as I wanted to. It was driving me crazy. It was wrecking my personal life, too. Just not being able to be satisfied. And drinking became a problem because of that. You know, to try to drown, you know, my frustration with it.
If you looked at what you'd written some great songs.
I could look at 25% of what I wrote and throw it out and not miss it at all.
But I bet you most artists would say the same thing.
Probably. But that's what drives good art.
In the end, that kind of wore you down?
Well, I wanted a personal life. You know, I'd been married and divorced a couple of times, and I said, when are you going to be content with yourself? There's a quote from Neil Diamond. He said, "I've forgiven myself for not being Beethoven." Mm-hmm. And I read that quote and I said, that's my problem. I have not forgiven myself for not being Beethoven. And I still to this day haven't.
But Beethoven never sold out the Garden 100 times.
Well, you went uptown riding in your limousine.
After 100 shows, does this feel kind of like your living room?
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah. It's our office. Hey, I see everybody, you know, we're all in our little cubicles, and then that's our office.
What's the matter with the car on the drive?
And when Billy Joel's name was hoisted on a banner into the Garden rafters Wednesday with those 3 imposing digits, even the piano man was impressed.
This is beyond my wildest expectations. I want to thank you all for coming to our shows.
Is it a big deal for you?
Yeah. Yeah. 100. I'm still trying to get my head around it. So it looks like there's no end to this thing.
Does that concern you?
I may be doing it for the rest of my natural life.